Hey everybody, welcome back to another super exciting Art of War stream. This week we are doing Fix My List Chaos. Everybody loves chaos.
Everyone loves chaos. Everyone loves fixing those lists. Nick, is this the first time you've been on Fix My List?
This is the first I've been on Fix My List.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thanks,
welcome.
Jack.
We're
This
glad
is
to
the
have
Jack
you.
Show. I'm here to, here to investigate.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we are off on a journey to ATC, the American Team Championships up near Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, we are not available to fix those lists, but the lists must be fixed. People demand it, Nick. People need it. They crave it. So here we are, a day ahead of time, recording it for them.
That's right. So we are fixing your list and we are pre-recording this. This is not live. Don't get to throw super chats at us. We can't answer them. But if you do, we'll try to get to them in the comments. Anyway, though, what you can do to show your support is maybe like the video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. It's free and it really helps us grow our numbers. And then leave a comment for the comment gods. It really just helps our channel grow and get to more and more people.
Absolutely. And if any of you are going to the ATC, please come up to us and say hi. We love talking to all of you.
I'll be super exciting. So, Jack, what do we do in Fix My List?
So, Fix My List. There are viewer-submitted lists. Now, how do you go about submitting a list? I hear you ask. You have asked me right now, Jack, I want a list. I have a fit list, and I want you to fix it.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right, so what you do is you go into our Discord. All right? If you're not a member of the War Room, you go into the link down below at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial. You can go in there, you can submit your list, have a chance at being featured on this show. We pick 3 lists every week, and we fix them live on camera. So we go over, I think this, I think it could use a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. And we go over our thought processes and how the lists that we take ourselves change and how we think about building our own lists. And then you can take those lessons home and build your own lists with that knowledge. This is not really about fixing individual lists so much as going over list fixing concepts so that you can do it for yourself.
That's awesome. But we are going through 3 War Room members lists, so if you're not a member of the War Room yet, you can check it out in the link below, thewarroom.vhx.tv. You get a 3-day free trial of it, and then in that 3-day free trial, you can experience our Discord server, which is where you can submit your list, but also interact with our coaches, our community. We have an amazing community centered around getting people better at 40k and helping them learn the game and become their best. You also get 3 coaching matches per week, a strategy session, 2 10-minute tips, and a daily faction fundamental that we're releasing right now. So there's just so much content helping you get better at your game.
All right, speaking of which, let's get into it.
Who's numero uno?
First up, we have Jeskai Nahiri, which I believe is a magic deck archetype. Jeskai Nahiri, red, white, blue, I believe. I don't know. It's been a while. Point is, Nick, what's in this demon list?
I don't know, Jack. Let's get into it. And I love that it's demons right off the bat because they're my favorite faction. We've got Be'lakor, Fate Weaver, Lord of Change with the Everstave, the Changeling, a Fluxmaster, 2 Exalted Flamers, 3 units of 10 Pink Horrors, a unit of 3 Nurglings, and 3 units of 6 Flamers.
Yeah, it started real hot with all of those characters, and then it 3 Pink Horrors, 3 Flamers. Now, this is almost mono Tzeentch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Almost mono Tzeentch. There's no reason necessarily to go mono Tzeentch unless you just like all the Tzeentch units, which it seems like they do. Now, Jeskai Nahiri had a very quick note about this. Going to play this at a local event, excited to tar pit up the board with horrors. So we don't want to change that.
No. So I like the horrors.
Yeah. I mean, with that being said, I think the pink horrors are great.
Are we going for mono Tzeentch, or is that...
I think
there are Nurglings in here, but are we trying to mix it up?
If we're being honest, I think the units we like are already in here, right? The pink horrors, which I think we're sticking with pink horrors.
Pink horrors are in.
Pink horrors for sure. Flamers are also very, very good. Kairos, Lord of Change, all very good. What is your first thought for... I think a little bit of not Tzeentch would be fine.
My first thought is this list looks a lot like the list that I like to run. I love the things that are in it. I like I don't like Be'lakor, but he's a necessary tool to keep yourself from getting shot. Fate Weaver is great. Lord of Change of the Everstave is great. Changeling is great. Exalted Flamers and Fluxmasters are all fine. Pink Horrors are great, and the crux of this army. 3 Nurglings are kind of very mandatory for just quality of life. And 3x6 Flamers is awesome. But I also see a little bit of fat, right?
Yeah.
So
a little bit of things you can cut.
Yeah, and I think you can basically either cut these squads down and just get down to the bare bones basics, like what do you need from these units? Because a lot of times you're going to have six flamers doing things like an action, or you're going to have six flamers doing things like go suicide to go contest an objective. And why is that six flamers? Why is that not three flamers? Why isn't that a lone op? So let's get to what these units' roles are, and then slim it down that way. And I would love to get Shalaxi in here.
Right. So Shalaxi's on the expensive end, so what can we do to get her in? The things that I noticed that I kind of want to cut here would be the... basically this whole package right there.
Yeah, that definitely seems like the weakest part of the list to me. Yeah. Why is that?
So the Exalted Flamers are an upgrade to Flamers, right? 70 points for 130, but you fall into the trap of you're spending a lot of points compared to the unit that you're buffing.
Right.
So an Exalted Flamer is 70, Flamers are 130. That's 200. Do you need that unit to be 200? I know you were running them that way at the start of the edition, and you moved off them.
Yeah, what I found is, like, it's a 200-point unit, and I use it to do not 200-point unit jobs. And what I mean by that is those actions where, like, go attack a unit, and, like, you don't hit that hard. You're still, like, Flamers with an Exalted Flamer. It's not like 9th edition. So you're basically going to kill infantry with this. And tanks are so much tougher these days. So you don't trade up with it. I actually then tried leaving the Exalted Flamer unattached and just having him be his own dude. So I have like a way more quantity of units. But then what I found was the Exalted Flamers just got shot and gave up Assassinate. So like why not make it like the Changeling or something, or rather the Blue Scribes.
Exactly. So if we're looking at this, right, we've got about 200 points here along with 10 floating points. That's 210. Mm-hmm. So what do you want? If we remove this, because I do think this is extraneous. This is very cuttable.
Yeah.
If we look at this currently, right, that,
yeah,
which we can still cut some stuff from it, obviously. What do you want in the list to add to that archetype?
The thing this army is missing is close combat prowess. The only model you have that is close combat effective is Be'lakor, and he's mediocre at it.
Yeah.
Fate Weaver and Lord of Change, they have a stat line that is high strength and it has an AP and a damage characteristic, but they are by no means combat units. And the rest of this is useless in close combat. So I'm looking to shore that up. And the way I think we can is with Shalaxi because of all synergies demons provide.
Okay, so we currently have 210 points. That means we need 190. Where do you think we can get those 190 points from? And I already think I know where you're going with this.
Well, those 3x6 flamers can be 3x3 flamers, and that's 195 right there.
Yeah. So if we did that, right, we go 3 flamers for 65. Whoop. Just get rid of that. Mm-hmm. And we just slot in 3 units of 3 flamers. They don't do the same thing that they used to, right?
They don't hit that hard.
They don't hit that hard. Although the 6 flamers kind of didn't hit that hard anyway because they were 6 AP1 flamers. Right. You know, like they were fine. They would clear chaff.
Yeah.
They would clear chaff pretty fine. But what they do now is a very like streamlined effect, which is they go to a place and they score your secondaries.
Which is a job you need.
It's a job you need. You need that done.
So the way I'm looking at this now is we have 30 pink horrors to do our OC. They're going to hold the objectives. They're going to tie people up. They're going to play the game of Warhammer for us. We've got 3x3 flamers and the Changeling to be in deep strike, go up and down into reserves, capture the enemy outpost by showing up 3 inches away and flaming a Calidus assassin. You know, that weird plays that demons can just make use of with their stratagems and the nature of Shadows of Chaos. That's the flamers are here for. And then Be'lakor, Fate Weaver, Lord of Change, and now Shalaxi. That's your army. That's like the bowling ball that is relatively unshootable. It kills a thing in turn with shooting. It kills tanks, and then Shalaxi keeps people very honest with combat. And I like to rapid ingress her and just use her that way.
Yep. So the thing Shalaxi gives you in this list is the rest of the list. All of the rest of this list is very good at avoiding your opponent and ceding ground to them and scoring points and getting your secondaries and holding primary and denying primary. That's all grand. What you don't want to run into is a scenario when your opponent just shoves you.
Yeah.
Right. They have stats, and they know they have stats on their side. Right. Something like a bunch of Terminators or a bunch of Custodies or something like that. They just go, and they just jam up the objectives. They don't respect you because, you know, your damage is fairly mediocre. Even if you had 6 squads of even if you had 6-man squads of flamers, Strength 4 AP1 gets it done into some profiles, but not most.
Yeah.
Knights can jam into those. Be'lakor, Fate Weaver, Lord of Change are great, efficient... Well, Bellacor's good for what he does, but Fate Weaver and Lord of Change are efficient stat lines that are very good, but what they're not are heavy damage dealers. So your opponent at no point feels like they're under pressure to have to play the game differently based off of what you're doing. They never have to give you any room.
Now, the one thing that I would add, just for clarification more than anything else, is Lord Change is an aura +1 strength. So those flamers do hit a little harder. They go up to strength 5. The Exalted Flamer goes up to strength, I believe, 6. And those horrors go up to strength 5 as well. That doesn't suck. That is genuinely a lot of firepower we have replaced with a lot of combat. But a lot of that firepower doesn't need to be shooting, and you don't need it because you're doing actions or deep striking, where you should be doing those kinds of things. And then on top of that, that kind of firepower doesn't make a dent into the real tough units in the world, like Jack was saying.
Yeah. You need to buy yourself space to do your nonsense. To do your waving your hands and holding objectives and scoring your points. You need to buy yourself space. And the way to do that is to make your opponent scared that you're going to hit them. And how do you do that?
Insert Shalaxi here.
That's right. Rapid Ingress Shalaxi in. She advances, moves 14, advances, charges, hits something... heroic challenge and just scoops a character out like she's, shoveling hay.
Want to know a fun fact, Jack?
What?
If you, at the start, basically at the end of going second, like you're at bottom of turn 1, you corrupt midfield, right? Because you controlled more objectives there.
Yeah.
And then your opponent takes their turn 2 movement phase, and they get midfield back. At the start of movement phase, you still corrupted it, so Shalaxi can come in off Shadow's office. She gets 6
inches away?
Yeah.
You basically make your opponent really paranoid for the first couple turns about where Shalaxi can come in. And honestly, you get a lot of value for keeping her out turn 2 and keeping her in turn 3 if your opponent is respecting her.
Yeah.
If they give you something that you can drop in and just ruin, then yeah, by all means, go off king.
I've had Shalaxi kill double her points in games and live to tell the tale. She carries the back of your army on her shoulders.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I got you, bud.
Yeah.
But if they are being careful, don't bring her in turn 2. Make them also be careful on turn 3. Buy yourself more time. Make them start playing the game on turn 3, 4, 5 rather than early. Because any army that wants to bully you is going to want to do it as early as possible.
Right.
So...
Well, the only thing I can think of that we could maybe improve this demon list with, and it's very much a side grade, is 3 flamers become the blue scribes, just for more loan op.
I do actually think that's a decent upgrade as well. I'm a big fan of the Blue Scribes.
Yeah, Blue Scribes is good. He doesn't do anything, but loan op move 12 is good.
Yeah, the Changeling is, in my mind, significantly better. But the Blue Scribes is like the Changeling's younger brother.
Yeah.
And it also, there's something to be said for having a unit that can very easily go to the center and do an action turn 1. The Flamers are half an inch too slow to do that.
Interesting.
And the Blue Scribes, because if you're on the midline and you move 9...
Depending on your deployment.
Depending on the deployment, for sure. But on most of the deployments, you need to move 10 to touch the objective without advancing. And the Blue Scribes move 12 and Flamers move 9. So there's a significant power advantage there. And you still have the ability to deep strike in and screen and control objectives and things like that. And the pink cars are just misery personified.
Yeah, they're great. Big happy the pink cars are here.
Yeah, if you have lone operative, consider taking it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this demon list. Jessica and Nahiri, hopefully you enjoyed the changes that we proposed to it. This is very similar to a demon list I would just run, honestly. Maybe I'll just take this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think your list was very good. We had to put fewer changes on it than most. I think this is great. So good luck at your event, and let us know how you did.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we've got a Jack special. We got the Thousand Suns.
All right, Jack.
Thousand Suns.
You gave us a lesson. You want me to read this off to you?
Please do.
All right. So this is Sam Hill's Thousand Suns. We've got Magnus the Red. Armor.
Of course.
They're in all the lists.
Yeah.
Exalted Sorcerer with the Umberlific Crystal. Exalted Sorcerer on a disc with the Lord of the Forbidden Lore. Another Sorcerer with the Arcane Vortex. Then we've got a unit of 10 Rubric Marines. 9 of them have Warp Flamers, and the Rubric guy has a Warp Flame Pistol. It's 3 units of 5 Rubric Marines. These are going to have...
They're all the same.
They're all the same with a Soul Reaper and a Warp Flame Pistol and bolt guns. Then a unit of 10 Terminators, all Combi Bolters, 2 Hellfire Racks, 1 Mutilate Vortex Piece, 2 Chaos Spawn, and a unit of 3 Zangor Enlightened.
So this is kind of similar to the list I've been testing out. So let's look at Sam Hill's notes. Fix me, baby. Just got myself a big tentacle boy with a warp thingy on his back, and I want to play Magnus and his posse of useless children. Help me do more stuff and things. Magnus did nothing wrong. Removing him from the list is a criminal offense. Well, don't worry. I'm not going to tell you to remove Magnus from your list. I actually put Magnus at number 1 epic hero in the game.
Yeah, I think you like Magnus.
I like Magnus.
Okay.
The army is Magnus,
What I think his terminology was pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good.
He said it was Magnus and his band of, what did he say?
Useless children.
Useless children.
Which is what it feels like sometimes.
So, talk me through a Thousand Sons list. So the untrained eye, much like myself here, and I'm guessing our audience, this looks like Thousand Sons good stuff.
So it kind of is. We've got a couple packages here. We've got Magnus the Red, looking to buff the army with +1 to hit and wound with psychic weapons, as well as also being a massive beat stick himself. We've got Ahriman, almost certainly being joined to 10 Rubric Marines with the Warp Flamers. He gives them +1 to wound, and then they reroll 1s to wound, and if you're on objective, they reroll all wounds, and they AP 2 on 6s to wound. Very good unit, very solid, gives you a lot of Cabal points as well. Then we've got 10 Scarab Cult Terminators with no Sorcerer to join to them. I double-checked. He said Exalted Sorcerer. Perhaps he meant Terminator Armor Sorcerer, which potentially he meant, but that would be over points here, I calculated. So we have nobody to join the Scarab Cult Terminators. That is thing to fix number 1, because the Terminator or the Sorcerer in Terminator Armor is one of the better characters in Thousand Sons, and I do want one. So, we've got 10 Scarab Cult Terminators with the Combi Bolters. He didn't actually specify. Might be with 2 chain cannons. It doesn't particularly matter. We got 10 Rubric Marines with Ahriman. We got Magnus, and we got some small units of Rubrics with characters attached. So that's going to be an Exalted Sorcerer with the crystal that lets you teleport. We've got Exalted Sorcerer on disc with Lord of Forbidden Lore, which lets him do 2 rituals. That's, in my mind, mandatory, because the combos you can put out are kind of ludicrous. If you want to hear more about the combos you can do with Lord of Forbidden Lore and rituals and whatnot, if you head on over to thewarroom.vhx.tv, I have a State of Thousand Sons where I go in detail. And then finally we got a Sorcerer with Arcane Vortex who hits like a truck. Honestly, you look at this little guy, and he's a little dinky guy walking around. He's a little sorcerer. You got one of those old models, like one of the old metal sculpts or whatever, and they're tiny. And you're like, how much damage can this guy do? He's got +1 strength, +1 damage on his psychic weapon from Arcane Vortex. How bad could this be? I have rolled him out quite a few times. He's a fun model to roll out. I have had him pick up 10 Terminators.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not always you do that, and you do need to take their armor save away, but he hits hard. He hits hard. He is 2d6 shots at strength 6, AP 1, damage 2.
This is the guy on the disc.
No, this is the Sorcerer on foot. The basic Sorcerer with Arcane Vortex.
Dude. Okay.
Yep. 2d6 shots at strength 6, AP 1, damage 2. With sustained hits 3. As well as pistol, so you can fire it into combat.
So he's like, if you roll 6s, this is going to get nuts.
Yeah, and then he'll have dev wounds from your army.
Yeah, right.
And then you also 1 CP reroll hits and wounds, and you take their armor save away, and he hits like a freight train made out of smaller freight trains.
Okay, so basically this is Thousand Sons good stuff, but we're trying to optimize it.
We are. So things I've noticed right off the jump. Your Terminators don't have anyone to go with them.
Right.
Not particularly interesting.
But we like all our characters.
We like the characters, kind of. This Exalted Sorcerer is going to be melted down and turned into a Terminator Sorcerer.
Oh.
Yes.
You can't just put Terminator armor on. He's got to melt down first and then retransfigure himself.
You got to retransfigure himself. It's Thousand Sons, baby.
Okay. All right. Just
got to change.
You can't just change clothes.
Nope. Can't just do it. So this is going to be a Sorcerer in Terminator armor.
And this just means that instead of having a guy join the Rubrics, we're having a guy join the Terminators.
Yes. And the reason behind this is because we want the Umbrellific Crystal on the Scarab Cult Terminators.
Right.
That
allows them to teleport.
That allows them to teleport. He also gives the unit a variety of really good buffs. Lethal hits, and he picks a target, in shooting and combat, by the way, and he picks a target and you reroll 1s to hit against it, and he has a good gun, and his gun, he has a combi weapon that gains psychic and gets all the buffs of the Scarab Cult Terminator, and he slaps in combat, and he teleports the unit with Umbrellific Crystal, so you can, if your opponent tags it, you can teleport out and still shoot, which is essential. That's how people will try to avoid getting killed by you.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. We spent a few more points than we had. What's your proposal for fixing that?
Bye.
Just a whole Rubik
Just
squad.
a whole Rubik squad.
Not like
all gone.
Not like 2 Chaos Spawn become 3 Zangor Lightning, because we didn't need that many points.
Nope. Rubik squad gone.
Why do you hate these rubrics?
Okay, so first off, let's go over our Cabal point total. We've got 4 from Magnus, 3 from Aramon. He also uses 1 for free, so that's 7. Terminator Sorcerer is 2 for 9. Exalted Sorcerer on Disc is 2 for 11. Sorcerer is 1, goes to 12. We've got 3 rubrics and the Scarab Cult Terminator, so we are sitting pretty at 16.
Okay, well, we were at 17 a minute ago.
We were at 17 a minute ago. 16 is enough. We do not need more than that.
But what about like the fact that Rubik Marines are like a real unit? I mean, I'm not married to these Rubik Marines.
Yep.
It just felt like a very abrupt change, you know?
Yeah, so basically, when you go looking at the screens, right, you go looking at the things to keep your opponent from hitting you. Rubric Marines are about the worst unit that you can imagine in that book. Like, they're one of the worst units you can take there. Mm-hmm. They're not a bad unit. They're just not good at anything.
They're just 5 Space Marines that walk around, and you kind of need them to fuel your Cabal points. And they're kind of tough to kill, but that's about it.
One of them has a chain cannon. They're not terrible. Honestly, the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc could just be solo.
Really? And then
Yeah.
So you like the 10-man Rubiks because Aramon joins them, gives them reroll wounds?
Yep. Aramon joins them, gives them +1 to wound.
+1 wound.
I could see taking the Sorcerer and joining him to a 10-man squad of Rubric Marines with Bolters, because then when you spend the reroll hits and wounds on psychic weapons, you also make their Bolters psychic weapons, and the unit will blast you. That's decent. It's a lot of points. It ends up being about 290 total for the unit.
I can get behind Rubric Marines just being kind of bad. Like, what if we just don't really take Rubric Marines? Because all I see Rubric Marines doing are just, like, existing, and they're, like, tougher to kill than, like, Zangors and Cultists. But, like, they do the same things. They exist in slightly different spots.
Yeah, I could totally get behind cutting a second unit for sure and having the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc be by himself. There's a couple of benefits to having the Exalted Sorcerer be by himself. One, he moves 12, or he moves, I think, 10 inches, goes to 12 if Magnus has the +2 move aura, or maybe he moves 12, goes to 14. But he is infantry, whereas Zangor Enlightened are mounted, so he gets to go through walls. And if he goes through walls, he can see your opponent very easily and sight in for Magnus's indirect. It's one of the only ways to reliably get it. You will sacrifice your character, but, you know, such is life sometimes.
Yeah, it's a trade.
It's a trade. In addition, you can go forward, slow your opponent down, because the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc is the guy who picks an enemy unit, and on a 2-up halves their move, advance, and charges, and then you double move them back behind a wall.
There's like a lot of mobile shooting, deep striking, indirect fire, things that can go threaten this guy if he's just like on his own.
Yeah, that's why I like leaving him with rubrics, and then he guards the home field objective.
Yeah.
In my list, I've leaned towards taking a Sorcerer instead, because Sorcerer's units can't be shot over 18 away. Mm-hmm. And so that just keeps Lord of Forbidden Lore and my home objective safe. Just safe. You're not getting to them, you're not taking them away, you're not killing my buff guy, and you're not taking my home objective.
It's just a lot of points in the backfield, but if he's buffing, then it's fine.
Yep, it does make the unit not substantially, but it makes it a little cheaper, right? Instead of 130, it's going to be 115 if we take a Sorcerer. You go down to 15 Cabal points, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm. What's like your Cabal point number?
14 is the lowest I'll go. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
14 is scraping a little bit. 16 is great. 15 is workable, I think. Mm-hmm. And this leads to your backfield not just getting shredded by indirect fire, and you don't have to leave other stuff back there.
I mean, the other thought is you could just ally in Changeling and have a nice Alona to just sit back there.
Glad you mentioned it. Porcano Los Dos. Why not? Have both.
Yeah. I mean, there's always just like an element of chaos, right? Where I feel like you can just add Changeling to every chaos list, and that's just a good 75 points.
Yeah.
I never I write a list and then I find room for Changeling.
Yeah, I actually think he's 110.
Okay.
Plus 190.
What about a Rhino? Just to get these guys going places. Helps you out with actions and placement.
It's decent. Every time I've played the list, or every time I've played something like this, it has needed more units rather than shells to put around units.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, I really think this list would love a demon package of Changeling, Blue Scribes, and like a Flamer or two.
I couldn't agree more. So let's at least put in the Changeling. Mm-hmm. because we're going to start running up against the barriers of what we can put in a list.
It's points.
Yeah, points. The Changeling is the best lone op in the game. And so, if you have access to the Changeling, I would recommend taking him.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah. So, that leaves us with a total of 30 points left.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I want to do with those 30 points?
What's that?
I would love to take I love Chaos Spawn. I love Thousand Suns Chaos Spawn.
What do they do better than everybody else's spawn?
They have a 5-up Invuln.
Oh, that helps a lot.
Yeah. They're 2 models at toughness 5 and 4-up armor save with a 5-up Feel No Pain. That is every Chaos Spawn. The only difference between other Chaos Spawn and Thousand Suns Chaos Spawn is Thousand Suns have a 5-up Invuln.
5-up Invul, 5-up Feel No Pain on that is like...
And then they heal D3 in each player's command
not
phase.
Bad.
No, they're very good.
I was ready to just get those things right on out of here, but I was impressed by that just now.
Yeah. They're very good. Now, you have some options. 1, we take these Zangor Enlightened, we turn them into Chaos Spawn.
Because we have 30 points left.
We have 30 points left. That'll leave us with 10. Mm-hmm. There's not really much else to do. Armon goes on a disc, so he gets an extra wound.
Sure.
And we're done. Or we take the Chaos Spawn and we turn them into 2 units of Enlightened, and then also put Armon on disc.
I think I liked that option. I was also going to propose, what if we actually just turn the Chaos Spawn and the 30 remaining points into 5 more rubrics? It's the same number of units, but 5 rubrics are, in my opinion, just like better than 2 Chaos Spawn. But I don't even know that's true.
I actually think it's not, weirdly enough.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad for rubrics.
Chaos Spawn also slap in combat.
I like 2 more Zangor Enlightened for like 3 of those. Zoop, zoop, zoop. But honestly, do those Deep Strike or anything?
What they do is very funny, actually. They can arrive out of strategic reserves, and then you can double move them. And so you can basically have easy access to any secondary that relies on doing anything
like movement
16 inches away from a board edge.
Okay, yeah, they're in.
Yeah.
They're, that's where they go. They go in.
Thousand Suns do have some great rules, huh?
What if we... So we had 30, then we got the spawn, so we had 95. And then... Oh, we're so short. We're 5
points under right now with this.
We're just shy of the Blue Scribes.
On what?
Just instead of 3 Zangor and Light, just Blue Scribes.
Oh, yeah, we're 15 points light.
Yeah. But I like this where it is.
Yeah, I like where it is. So the last thing, if we have 5 points, is Armon on disc.
That's 5 points.
It's 5 points?
It used to be like 35.
So it gives you... Well, he has to attach to a unit, so he doesn't actually move that much quicker. The only thing it gives you is +1 wound and a little extra movement, which is useful when you need to like leapfrog the unit.
If +1 wound makes the difference, it's amazing.
Yeah, when he's alive instead of not through precision. Now, the only thing it does is add fly to the unit, so anti-fly finds a home.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Almost every anti-fly weapon out there would wound you on 2s regardless.
Yeah.
And anti-fly devastating wounds, so far I've only seen the Tracta Cannon.
I don't think the anti-fly thing is like a practical problem.
No, I think having 1 more wound on Armon is just better.
Yeah. And a little manipulation of his base placement.
Yep. Yeah, because you start the unit all next to each other, they move 5, he moves, up to 12, and then, so he's leading the unit, and then you charge and consolidate it back in.
Yeah. Because you can get around places.
He's also not bad in combat, so if you do get him in, he kind of slaps.
He's AP1, but like if it's damage 3.
Damage 3 dev wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 5 attacks. So he goes in, also +1 to hit and wound off of Magnus. So if he's nearby, the Sergeant hits on 2s and has dev wounds and has +1 to wound. And he hits on 2s with +1 to wound and dev wounds. And you can't really guarantee you're just going to live through that. Yeah. He also gives his unit +1 to wound in combat too.
Yeah.
So
another solid list, Sam. Great job here. Just a lot of small changes here and there to make a lot of the quality of life differences.
Yep. I like that this list has a Mutalith in it. I think that's very strong. The lists I've haven't really had room for it, but this one slots in very nicely.
Yeah,
so
I think the one Mutalith is actually quite nice.
Yeah, it is, because you double up the range. You can take armor saves away at 36, that sort of thing.
It's not worth attacking. It's miserable to attack.
Yeah, it's nightmarish. Terminator Sorcerer, the big change, Terminator Sorcerer for the Scarab Cult Terminators. You just need to make sure that what'll happen is you shoot your opponent really hard, and they go, I can't take that again. Can you fall back and shoot? And you go, no. And so they go tag your Scarab Cult Terminators with like a truck or something.
Yeah.
You can't let that happen. You can now teleport out and have the ability to carry the attack on forward. So I really like this list. Again, a list that was very close to where I would want to leave it, and I would play this list to a tournament.
Awesome. It's 2 for 2.
2 for 2. All right, last up. We've got Shrike Not a Bird with CSM.
Shrike Not a Bird. Love the name. I love CSM. Super excited about this one. So, just reading it top to bottom, we've got Abaddon the Spoiler, a Dark Commune with the Mark of Nurgle, a Terminator Sorcerer with the Mark of Slanesh, big Accursed Cultist unit with Mark of Khorne, 10-man regular Cultist unit, 10 Chaos Terminators with a variety of weapons, they're also Mark of Nurgle, 10 Undivided Possessed, an Undivided Forge Fiend with 3 Ectoplasma Cannons, 4 Tzeentch Obliterators, and 2 Khorne Obliterators.
So as far as notes, we've got, they said, Nick Nanavati, I hope the Fix My List submissions for Chaos are still ongoing. I was the one who selected your list, not Nick. Pray to me. I wonder if Max Accursed Cultists are a better choice than Obliterators plus Possessed, but I'm also limited by what models I have on the former option. Additionally, any insight into this shooting list I've been making would be neat.
That's awesome, Strike Not a Bird. So I see a lot of small things we can improve upon here, but overall, I like where we're going, and I want to help you out with the Obliterators versus Possessed situation.
So what's the list trying to do now?
So what I'm seeing is basically we have Abaddon giving a 4 Benville towards these Accursed Cultists, and Abaddon standing with the 10 Terminators, and the 10-man Terminators being pretty much unshootable against the scary stuff. And alternatively, you could make the Cultists... Now see, here's where we get a little confused, because I think the Cultists being Khorne don't line up with the Dark Commune being Nurgle. They have to match for them to join. And then also, if they're Khorne Cultists and you go with the Khorne Dark Commune, that's a no-no because the Dark Commune has a Psyker. So
there's like multiple reasons you can't join.
Right. So you'd want the Dark Commune to be Nurgle, then the Accursed Cultists would have to be Nurgle, or you'd want them to be Slanesh, because then you get sustained hits 5 in close combat, which would make your Dark Commune Slanesh. So it's really, do you prefer offense with the sustained hits 5 or the unshootable with the Nurgle? So that's a choice. But 10 Terminators is a thing. 10 Undivided Possessed are just like your really hard-hitting brick. They go full reroll hits, full reroll wounds for 1 CP with Profane Zeal, and they have devastating wounds. So they have a ton of attacks, rerolling hits, they can go sustained hits, and then, rerolling everything.
It's punch time.
It's everything dies. They kill like the entire Warrior brick or Lich-Guard brick on their own, mathematically.
Yeah, your opponent just can't push 10 Possessed. They will get clapped.
Now, the thing with 10 Possessed that are undivided is there's nothing saving them in the world from just being shot. Now, there are walls in 40k, but there's also indirect fire in 40k, so that's why I don't love that unit. And then we've got Forge Fiend. Forge Fiend's great. Forge Fiend maybe wants to be more than one Forge Fiend. And then Obliterators, I am reluctant to admit it, but I will admit when I am wrong. Obliterators have a place in Chaos Space Marines at this moment in time.
Well, every instinct in my body is telling me to rub this moment in and exploit it for all it's worth, but I will be the bigger man here.
Okay, Jack, what do you think of this list?
So I think it's trying to go in the right direction, for sure. But it's got some things that don't quite work. Maybe that's just because, it's a new edition, lack of experience with it. For example, things like 10 cultists. The 10 regular cultists, why are they Khorne, right? They shouldn't, in my mind, be Khorne. I think they should be Nurgle.
So the cool thing with Nurgle cultists here is you can lead them on your home field objective, and then the cultists have a rule that allows you to make the objective sticky, meaning if you walk off it or you get shot off it, it's still yours. So this is a really great defense because, if somebody deep strikes into your backfield, which will quickly get abandoned as a CSM player, 3 interceptors go back there. They can shoot you off the objective, but it's still your objective. Indirect fire, same idea. The only real challenge here is someone who could pick you up turn 1, and this is where Mark and Nurgle for 1 CPU just make them unshootable.
Yep.
Checks in. So love that change, Jack.
Yep, love that. I'll let you decide, I'll go with whatever you say is best on the keywords on the Dark Commune when we're all done with the army.
Yeah, that's a user usage style thing.
Yep.
But they have to match to have the units actually join each other.
And they can't be Khorne.
If they can't be Khorne to have the Dark Commune join, because Dark Commune you can't be Khorne.
Yeah, it can't be Khorne because it's a Psyker.
Yeah.
Chaos Terminator's War Gear loadout is a bit odd in my mind. It only has 1 autocannon.
Yeah.
So I think that should be 2. And then it only has 5 Power Fists, which I think should just be 6.
Yeah.
So just maxing out the good weapons.
You gotta go to 8 Combi Bolters.
You do have to go to 8 Combi Bolters, which is what I was going to ask. How do you feel about Combi Bolters versus combi weapons.
In Chaos Space Marines with access to Abaddon, where your dev wounds get stacked with sustained hits 5s from Mark of Nurgle, and then translate into reroll wounds for 1 CP from Profane Zeal, it actually deals a tremendous amount of damage. You're not only threatening the infantry, you threaten tanks with this stuff.
Because you're rerolling hits, rerolling wounds, getting exploding 5s, and just firing a ton of bullets.
And like every 6 is a mortal, reroll everything that's not a 6. Your toughness, who cares? Take 10 mortals. Their mark doesn't actually matter, but you have to assign them one. The reason it doesn't matter is because Abaddon, in this style list, will join them 100% of the time.
Yep, and he has every mark, including Undivided, so every ability works on them regardless. I think this is just, you take as many of the good weapons as you can, you take as many of the autocannons as you can, and then the combi weapons are just solid.
Yeah.
They're just solid.
So here's my thing with the Possessed. It's really... I love Possessed. I think they're really cool, and I want them to be good. And they hit like freight trains, and there's a lot of value to that. But what Possessed ultimately try to do is deliver a ton of mortal wounds to you, and Forged Fiends do that from ranged and really effectively.
Yeah, Possessed do have the ability to tell people to not come near you. Mm-hmm. Like, you post them up in a building, and boy howdy, people are going to leave you alone. But you've already got the Terminators, and if you're trying to be a shooting list, I would agree. I would agree for sure.
I think a lot of people try to be a mixed arms with Chaos Space Marines, and that's fine, and I prefer that style myself. But like, there is like an objective truth to the way 40k is played competitively in this meta right now, that walking around with dudes on foot is just, asking for a bad matchup.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think if you're trying to be a shooting army, you have enough counterpunch. Nobody wants to walk up on these two homies when they're right next to each other.
Yeah, and you can only make one unit unshootable.
Yes. So I would agree with you. I think in this list, there are other lists where you want the Possessed. They are a good unit, for sure. In this list, I think you want the Forged Fiends. And there's something else here. I like Obliterators. I think they're good. What I don't like are 2-man Obliterators.
So I think I actually have two minds of this. And I know you're of the camp that 4 Obliterators is more push button.
They do push that button real hard.
4 Obliterators, there's something we said about it with Mark of Undivided, rerolling all hits, rerolling all wounds. I definitely would not run 4 Tzeentch Obliterators, but we'll get Marks aside for a second.
Right.
4 Obliterators, rerolling all hits, rerolling all wounds. It's good. Like, there's no shortchanging that. But here's the thing with Obliterators. I think Obliterators are like... You go in on Obliterators or you use them as skirmishers. So they're like, to me, you're either running 8 Obliterators, where you're bringing 2 units of foreign, and you're like, 1 unit is murdering you, you use your defensive strats, the next unit is going to murder whatever it wants. And then it's overwhelming, and there's 8 of them. And at that point, we're choosing between Obliterators and Forged Fiends and then other stuff. And that's going to be the nature of this triangle. The other thought is we go for a more of an MSU approach, which I know maybe not intuitive to you, Jack, but it's definitely something I think is worth talking about, and did well at Lone Star Open this past weekend. Is like multiple units of 2 Obliterators where they're all just very useful. They deep strike in, they do potent things, and you have like 3 Forged Fiends as well.
That's fair. I could see taking like 2-man Obliterators. What I want is at least 1 4-man Obliterator to come down when you need it and just deliver the people's elbow to your opponent's face.
Yeah.
For that, I would definitely want it to be Undivided.
Yeah.
So you get to Profane Zeal and just unleash the damage.
So we just cut 290 out.
Right. And I added in the second Forged Fiend because I figured that's where you were going.
That was totally where I was going. So then we have 125 left. I would love to get a Lone Op in here. I know how on we've been about changing it, but I'll propose an alternative just to be different. Cypher does do a lot of work in Chaos Space Marines. Vector somebody is awesome.
Now here's my question. I don't see what the Terminator Sorcerer is doing here.
So the Terminator Sorcerer does one very specific thing, and I actually think it's a big deal, but this army's not making the best use of him. He comes in and he casts Death Hex, and Death Hex dispels 12-inch range. You roll a dice on a 2+, a unit you can see within 12 inches of you, so you rapid ingress, deep strike, that kind of thing. All your attacks against that unit are an additional point of AP. So where it's really good is Armor of Contempt Terminator type things in cover. It's kind of mandatory to get certain AP thresholds. Forged Fiends being AP3, going to AP2 against Terminator in cover gives a 3-up save. So it actually makes a credible difference there. And then additionally, it makes your Accursed Cultists monsters in close combat because it gets them to AP2. And that just like takes every 2-up armor save to an invul.
Yeah.
So I quite like the Terminator Sorcerer. I would actually go 15 points higher on him. So like I'm thinking like Cypher and an enhancement on Terminator Sorcerer. I think it's called the Elixir of whatever something. It's 15 points and it gives him 5 appeal and pain. And Terminator Sorcerers already have the once per game ability to just blank a damage. So like you have to kind of chip through him a lot more effort than you want to.
Does he require line of sight for Death X?
He does. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but when you have the problem, it is a solution. Another unit that would also provide a similar solution would be a Burning Chariot, which when it targets a unit with its gun, your army ignores cover, and this is primarily a shooting army.
Does that work on CSM?
It'll work on CSM, but a Burning Chariot's not the greatest unit. It's 135, and it's a Burning Chariot.
I'll say that about it. It's a Burning Chariot.
Burning Chariot, like what are we talking about here?
So we have 130 left with the Terminator Sorcerer, because the original list was 5 under. You
Okay.
can keep the Terminator Sorcerer.
130.
So how much is Cypher?
105.
So I definitely like Cypher.
Cypher's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. And now we have a tremendous scoring package, right? We have Cypher, we have 10 cultists to sticky objectives, lone op, can't shoot them, can't shoot cultists outside 12 inches. It's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really strong. Cultist scout move, right?
Not in Chaos Space Marines.
Shame.
Yeah, so here I would say you probably actually do want Nurgle, Accursed Cultist, Dark Commune. But honestly, one thing I found really, really helpful that the Obliterators have not been providing is like just long range firepower. I could see that 2-man becoming a Forge Fiend, a third one.
What is the what's the range on Forge Fiend? 36?
36.
36? So are you thinking like this goes bye-bye, this gets a friend?
Yeah, I'm thinking like that. And then you just have 3 Forge Fiends to be like your mainstay firepower, and then one turn on either turn 2 or turn 3, you decide to just bring in the hammer with the Obliterators. In the meantime, your Terminators are playing keep away. And what you can do that I love about this list, and it's actually that convinces me that it should be.
What's the elixir called?
The elixir
of
I can look it up. It's
stuff.
Elixir of stuff.
All right, I'm calling it. It's 15 points.
It's 15 points.
Okay.
I'm looking it up though. You can't stop me. You won't stop me.
I won't stop you. I will not. I'm not going to discourage Nick from finally learning the names of his rules.
Intoxicating elixir.
Oh.
I just gave it to a Dark Commune in one of my lists. I'm not going to do that in real life.
Intoxicating elixir on that one.
So that's just like 15 points for feeling no pain, quality of life, whatever.
Yep. And now we have 5 points remaining, just like the original list.
I think so. Here's a cool thing this list can do that I really like. If you are playing against Titanic stuff, or rather Towering stuff, and like oppressive firepower, you can beta strike it super hard. And that's basically 3 Forge Fiends go into Strategic Reserve. That's 495. That's right under the allotment. 4 Obliterators go into Deep Strike. That's its own category. Terminator Sorcerer goes in Deep Strike, so that's its own category. Dark Commune and Accursed Cultists give them Mark and Nurgle, keep them, wherever behind, they Mark and Nurgle. Turn 10 Terminators and Abaddon keeps them behind a wall or use their Mark and Nurgle. So basically you have to hide one or the other between these two. Your 10 Cultists, they're the easiest thing in the world to hide. Cypher's a lone op. And then you can null deploy. They can't really rush you because it's rushing into 10 Terminators and Abaddon.
Yeah, and Abaddon, I've run the numbers. He does 30 damage to a knight on average with Profane
I
Zeal.
just annihilated somebody with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he does 30 damage on average.
Just himself.
Just by himself. He has a 10-man hype squad
He has
behind him.
He has 10 bullet catchers for himself. Literally, that's
He's
what
just crowd surfing. They deliver him to a knight.
I
He
hate
flips
that,
it upside
but,
down.
That is what these 10 Terminators are. They do damage. Whatever. They have it on home.
Sure,
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then you turn 2 rolls around, and then Forge Fiend, Hammer, Obliterator, boom, boom. Here's the thing that this list sucks at and genuinely needs to be better at. I just had this issue because you have to play tactical most of your games, and you draw behind enemy lines. There's no one to do it. You draw deploy teleport armors. There's no one to do it. So you need to build some of that in. And honestly, the best way to do it is demons.
I mean, this list could also legitimately, and I know this goes against every fiber of your being, Nick. Just take Bring It Down, Assassinate, like in every game.
Jack.
They can't score points if they're dead, bud.
I Jack knows how to get me going.
I know.
So you could accept that you were bad at tactical objectives and literally have to kill your opponent, or I would suggest cutting.
Well, no. If they don't want to play primary, you get to not kill them, and then you win anyway.
Then you can play primary without doing anything half the time. I do it a lot.
Okay.
You could cut one Forge Fiend for lovely demon package of Changeling, Blue Scribes, and 3 Nurglings or something like that.
I think if we're gonna do that, I honestly the thing that doesn't tie together here that I want to cut for demons is that.
I know you were gonna say that, but I love them so much.
And you knew why I was gonna say it.
I know. This list is just going in the direction of maximum damage and obliterator hype. So, see, I like a more balanced approach, which actually doubles the Accursed Cultist count, goes for 2 big ones, cuts the Forge Fiend, just one of them, and I don't.
We still need to make points there.
Honestly, the challenge with this is, in the list I've been writing in my head, is that I think I've been going for too much. Because what I end up sacrificing is my demon detachment. Then I suck at secondaries, and I'm not the best at tabling you. So this is picking a direction. So like I'm okay with picking the damage direction and cutting these boys. But there's also a defense direction that just runs 3 of them.
Yep, there certainly is. There's quite a few archetypes you can take in CSM, but we're not taking that one. Anyway, yes, I do know how to get Nick going. All right.
So this list started with 1 Forge Fiend and 2 Obliterator units, and 1 Accursed Cultist unit. And we decided to cut the Accursed Cultist unit, invest deeper in guns, which I guess makes sense when I say it aloud like that. But I like Accursed Cultists, and I want
have
that
we
to be
recommended the Changeling in each of these lists?
Yeah, I mean, all right, we did fix Mindless Chaos, all right? We did fix Mindless Chaos, and it is the best model in Chaos.
I was about to say, I think it's the best model in Chaos. It's also 75 points. Like, it's
75-point loan up that just, like, makes people sneeze when they shoot you and actually has a useful flamer.
I have had the funniest things happen to me when people try to kill the Changeling.
Oh, my God.
I had a Custodes player sticky an objective, then try to shoot me, and then lose the objective because they couldn't shoot me. They lost their OC because they were battle shocked, and the Changeling was still on the objective.
Yeah.
No sticky objective for you, friend. Sorry.
So this list is pretty great, honestly. How many points do we have left?
Oh, we have quite a few.
We just cut... What did we cut for the Changeling?
We cut an entire Cursed Cultist brick.
Oh, yeah, so that's 245. So we have 250 left.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, like, Changeling, Blue Scribes, and, like, Divide by Nurgling is honestly what I would do.
Yep. So...
Or, honestly, I could see a horror unit and then Divide by Nurgling.
Yep, we have 175 left.
Okay,
that's 1 horror unit, and then you get a fraction of a Nurgling.
Oh, yeah, that's not enough.
175 gets you, what, 1...
You can do Blue Scribes and the Mask.
Blue Scribes and the... Is the Mask
The Mask is another loan up. It's the most expensive loan up that doesn't do anything, but she is your 4th loan up.
What does she do? Now, how many points is she?
She's 1 of 5. She synergizes with Demon Slanesh stuff. You're not doing that.
No, I think you could take the Blue Scribes and 2 units of...
You could do Blue Scribes, 2 units, Nurglings, and Akko points left.
It's a bit of an awkward points amount.
Awkward points is better than bad units, though.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
And honestly, while we're in the final pickings of this list, let's make one of the Forge Fiends Nurgle. I think that'd be nice. What I found is, like, the last Forge Fiend wants to just be unshootable.
I 100% agree with that. What I honestly want to do here is I want to take another Cultist squad, because you're about to run into a 55-point gap, and then take 3 squads of Nurglings.
So you can. I don't love the second Cultist squad, and that's because you run into a reserve points issue. Because if you do 3 Forge Fiends and you do reserve, that's it, and you can only keep so much trash safe from being shot turn 1. This matters into like high level Eldar matches because they Night Spinner your Cultist out, and then they appear in Incarn in your backfield, and oh no. So if I only deploy 10 Cultists and Nurgle Strat them, 10 Terminators aren't going to die if they're behind a wall. Lone Ops, Forge Fiends in reserve, a Blitz and Terminator Source in reserve, I have no weak link.
Yep, so you're saying you need to put something on the board, and this only, again, as you said, matters at like very high level counter Eldar, where you need to have something that Night Spinners don't kill in your backfield so the Incarn doesn't show up there turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
it's also nice because it's not dead points versus like Desolator spam or whatever.
Yeah. So if we take 3 times Nurgos...
That's 40.
That is 40.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do that 3 times? That'll leave us with 55 points left.
I think we do it twice and do a blue scribes.
We could also do 2 squads of flamers, or 1 squad of flamers, 1 squad of nurglings, blue scribes.
Yeah, let's do that. That's better. Because the flamers actually, the 3-man flamer does a really nice job that the 3-man nurgling cannot, which is that it deep strikes and steals an objective.
Yeah, because the nurglings don't do that.
Like, nurglings are great for being the cheapest screen action thing you got, but they have no OC. Flamers are the second cheapest thing you got, have OC, and actually can pretend to do damage like cultists and stuff. And then the blue scribes is different because that thing's a lone op.
But the list we designed before with the Cursed Cultist will do perfectly fine. You just have to rely a little bit more on violence than before.
Yeah, it's better at primary, the Cursed Cultist version.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to run that version, you totally can. Like, I understand we recommend the changeling to every chaos list, but also, if you can take it, I kind of think you should.
I mean, I've never been sad I had a changeling. In my last game I played, I rapid ingressed the changeling to steal an objective, and then it also happened to score me secondary points. And then it lived forever.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the changeling also is it's incredibly funny to play with.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, because anytime your opponent rocks up, tries to kill it, you're like, take a battle shock. Take a battle shock. Oh, you can target anyone you want. Not him, though. Not the one model you're in engagement range of. Sorry, you can't target him. You can target anyone, though. Not him.
Not him.
Not him.
One of the things that I've come to terms with, and I encourage everyone to do so to play this game competitively, is to recognize that the way ally rules work right now is that demons are literally just more units in your codex. They are just datasheet entries you have that probably have less synergy than your actual units, but take them with no restrictions.
Also, lone operative, great. Every Chaos Army has access to lone operative in some form or fashion, unless you are world leaders. Or maybe Death Guard. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
But Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Knights, Thousand Suns, Demons, all have access to lone operatives through Demons.
Yep. Well, that's pretty much it. Shrike Not a Bird. Your list looks awesome. This looks like a better version of the list that I was trying to write. So thanks for, in essence, working with me to come up with this glorious thing. Jack, it's been awesome coming on Fix My List. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been fun having you on. We'll have to get you. We'll have to get you on again when the tides of chaos, and potentially maybe the changeling won't be included in every list. But also, I love the changeling, so sue me.
Fix My List is a good time. So you know what else is a good time? The War Room. That's our subscription service where you can sign up for our 3-day free trial right now down below, warroom.vhx.tv. In there, you will get access to 3 coaching games per week, 2 strategy sessions, 2 10-minute tips, faction fundamentals, and so much more. It's just awesome. You also get our amazing Discord community where you can actually submit your list to the Fix My List channel.
That's right. Just go into the Fix My List submission channel. You post your list up there. You can tag me. A little flattery won't hurt.
Jack accepts bribes.
I do, mostly in the form of flattery. It works. Okay, I'm the one who gets to decide it. I run this show.
In the comment section right here. Start flattering right now.
It works. I'm telling you, if it didn't work, I wouldn't tell you to do it. Mm-hmm. But I go through every week, and I will pull out 3 lists that I think are interesting, and every week we will go over them. Next week, I want to say, is Imperium? I believe it's Imperium.
I think next week's Imperium.
I think it's mixed Imperium, non-Space Marine Imperium.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We hope you had an awesome time with this one. Leave us a like, just drop us a subscription, and leave us a comment letting us know what you thought and what lists you want to see on Fix My List in the future. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Yep. We'll catch you live later. Unfortunately, we're not able to do this one live, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. Bye-bye.